Hi, my name is Mikey. This is Tyler. We're the founders of Innovative Start Organization, a nonprofit teaching financial literacy to youth and young adults with the mission to inform, not persuade. And today we got a couple topics for you related to some items that you should look out for whenever you're getting ready to graduate and start your first job, and also some economic topics around Social Security with a recent announcement about the depletion of Social Security by 2034. But first, we're going to get started with talking about that potential benefit that you could receive from your first job post graduation. Um, if you've probably heard of it before, it's called a health savings account. There's also a similarity of it, which is a flexible spending account, also abbreviated as a HSA and a FSA. Most people know the health savings account side, not so much the flexible one. But sometimes jobs offer either or, just really depends on what your benefits package look like. But understanding how you can utilize that to benefit you the most, as it is an important tool and also tax benefit to get invested in. But just to kind of talk about what each one are and kind of like a quick summary. So looking at an HSA, you have to be enrolled in a high deductible health plan. Usually that's another part of your package whenever you're getting ready to select your benefits as far as health insurance and such. So depending on the plan that you select will create the eligibility for that. Now with an FSA, that doesn't have to be the same. That's literally the alternative. If you don't have that high deductible plan, that's where the FSA falls into place. But yes, your employer can contribute to the HSA part, not so much the FSA. That's mostly what you do, but these are both things done pre-tax. So basically, you put that money in at whatever time that you elect your benefits, and then, like I said at the beginning of the year, you'll get to use that money for certain items that are not covered under your medical insurance. Um, but I think most of the time, if it's medically related, whenever you submit like a ticket or whatever your system is online, or if they give you like a card to use, there's a variety of things that you can use those on. So some of those can be prescriptions, all the way up to like weights, HEPA filters, things like that. Like I said, it's just overall health benefits is what you're looking at. Some other things we have on this list is co-payments, medical equipment, um, yeah, some over-counter medications, uh, and hygiene here. Um, One important thing is that it does not cover health insurance premiums. I guess a lot of people might look at it to like use it on top of whatever it is, but think of it as its own separate kind of extra money that you can spend on just health related items. Um, Rollovers and all those other things that apply to HSA, because I know a lot of people be like, what if I don't use it within the year? Most times your account can roll over for certain things, but I would just always just double check um, with the benefits that you signed up for and make sure you just, read the fine print. But I'm gonna pass it to Tyler to kind of talk about more on HSA. Are you familiar with HSA? Do you have one set up, Tyler?
No, I don't have one. I ha Benefits have always been kind of weird for me. They're always confusing, and they're a pain in the butt. I so no. Long story short, but I personally I don't, and this is not to brag. I think again like what we mentioned is a lot of this is individualistic. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
finance people that make these broad terms like you need to do contribute this percentage to your 401k, you need to do this, you need this, and I think it's just so individualistic, and obviously that makes it harder. But what I'm trying to say is I thankfully have not had any major health um, complications, and so therefore I just don't contribute to it. I would rather use my money and keep the cash and put that elsewhere for myself. But I have family members that have certain conditions and things like that, I think this may be better suited for them due to some of the doctor's visits and things they have to do regularly. And I may, when I have kids, I may have to end up doing the health savings plan, because, they're unpredictable, running around on the little scooter or whatever and fall. I mean, you just never know, right?
Hmm.
So I think I'll get to that point at somewhere in the future. But again, I would just highly recommend just think about it individually. It is important to note the HSA health savings accounts. This will decrease your taxable income. So if you're looking to offset that, I know some people have a side business, they get taxed a lot. So to decrease their W-2 income, if they have like a salary job or whatever, they put more money in their 401k and in their health savings account to decrease their W-2 taxable amount. And then they're also getting some of this. One of the notes we have on here, which is actually pretty crazy. I didn't know about this, um, but they are triple tax benefits. So they're tax like you have the pre so the contributions are made pre-tax, then the earnings grow tax-free, and then the withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are tax-free as well. That's pretty crazy to me.
Hmm.
So, um, but on the flip side, I will say one thing that I encourage everyone to do with these types of plans with employers, whether it's 401k, Roth IRA, health savings accounts, is to look at the fees. Because sometimes I'm really concerned is like some of those fees are crazy because they know you're locked in.
Hmm.
Like these employers have you locked in. So I'm like, how much is this 401k fee? Things like that. It's just something to be aware of as you're investing in things like, I just don't want any of us get ripped off. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's some of my 2 cents about it.
I would say I've not had the HSA, but I've had the FSA. I remember when I was doing my benefits and kind of like learning more about it and how to utilize it. I used part of my FSA to my braces that I have on currently. So that was something that wasn't covered under my dental insurance, but it was medically correlated. But you learn so much, right? I think what made me realize that I was like, okay, like this is something that I need to get into is when I went in and did my kind of orthodontist. I think I went in there and basically just went and did like a checkup just to see like what I could do and what the braces and stuff and just how much everything would cost. And then I went to my insurance with my dental plan and they're like, yeah, once over the age of 18, we don't cover that as it's something that's more of a like elective uh, surgery, quote unquote, or something like that. Basically, like a cosmetic issue versus like a actual health benefit, um, which is interesting enough. But regardless of that, that was like, okay, it was right around the time that I was getting ready to elect for new benefits. So I was like, okay, let me just go ahead for the cost of the braces to, put that amount pre-tax. And then when it comes around and I need to pay for my braces when I get them going, which I think the turnaround was like 4 or 5 months. So by the time that I elected my benefits and by the time I got them, I'll have them ready to submit that ticket. But yeah, and with the FSA, they don't have a rollover, so you have to use those benefits in a year. Again, the way that aligned was that I did not have the high deductible plan, so that was the only thing that was available for me. I wasn't eligible for the HSA, but like I said beforehand, they kind of work in the same thing. Just one has different qualifications from the other. But
But
yeah,
your employer matched what you put in F the FA the FSA.
no. So that's only your money. HSA is an employer match and it can be. It's not always there. Like I said, you just always have to read the benefits package. Um, but for the FSA, that was just all my money, none of like an employer contribution. HSA could vary, just depends on what your employer offers. Again,
So the
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
But yes, and as Holly was saying earlier, it does reduce your taxable income. So if that's something that you're looking to do as far as like, I guess maybe it might change where you are on your W-2. It's come around tax time. That's just always something to look at if you're looking to do that. And that follows under the same categories of those other retirement accounts and such. So if your employer offers it and you quote unquote think you may or may not need it, just look up what are the things that are HSA available. If those are any of those things interest you, that's a double whammy. You can get some cool items like some gym equipment, or maybe you have some pets and you want to get a filter or something like that. Along those lines, as long as it's health related again, and you always just have to double check with whoever your employer has that account with, and just double check the fine print of what's eligible and what's not. But some cool things that you can get out of that and utilize that, and then you can also get that reduced taxable income. But go ahead, Tyler, were you going to say something?
I was, and one thing to be looking out for is, I think, on the health side for my company, there's benefits if you go get your blood drawn, you have like blood tests, things like that. They see if you're healthy, they check, if you smoke or not. So that's something to maybe look into for the health savings account as well. Maybe they contribute more. I'm not sure. Everybody, every company is different. So
Yeah, then that's true. So always, like I said, this is mostly related to those people getting those corporate jobs. It doesn't have to always be in a salary position, but I would just check and make sure that your employer offers it. If that's something that you want to explore, look at some of the things that you can get having one of those accounts, whether it's the health savings account or the flexible spending account. And yeah, just utilize the benefits that are given to you. I think it's a really cool thing to utilize as far as like an extra benefit, uh, quote unquote. Helps you on both sides. Like I said, taxable income, and you can get some cool items or some things that you need um, to help with your health. But that is all on that. Tyler, you have any additional things with HSA or FSA?
it's the last thing I'll say, it's overwhelming. I think it's overwhelming for a lot of people. That's okay. You have to take your time. Um, you're sitting down, just like, at least for me, I just get really overwhelmed. This all those huge documents, it's so
Hmm.
confusing. I Google is your best friend. If you need to take a break, go outside and walk or something, I don't know, do whatever. It gets so boring reading all those documents.
Hmm.
Just hang in there, but it's worth it. It's so worth it to know what's going on with some of these.
Yeah. And then managing healthcare in general is an extremely difficult thing to navigate as far as especially like in the US, I would say. Just knowing what your plan offers, things that are covered. If you're somebody who does have a medical history, that may be something that's more beneficial for you, as far as like maybe there's some surgeries or something that you've been, holding off on. That's something that can also benefit you as far as investing in that in one of those accounts. But like I said, overall, just if it's offered to you, read it out, see, if there's some things that align to what you're trying to do, either with your financials or your overall health, and then elect to do something like that and, see how it benefits you. Um, Most people, like, if they end up doing it and they don't find a significant change, it's up to you. You don't have to continue to do it, if that makes sense. It's not like, oh, you did it and now it's forever stuck with you. So maybe trial it out for that first year and see, how you utilized it. You can change how much goes in. It's not like, you have to put a certain allotted amount. You can say, hey, I only want to elect this amount, to be used towards my HSA or whatever it is. So it's a really cool benefit. Most definitely check that out as you're getting ready to get into that starting point. But yeah, overall, again, use Google. Check with friends and family who may have had it before. Ask around just to see like what other people have done or used it for, and it might spark some ideas in your head. But to move over to the next topic, which I feel like is kind of on and off or in the back of everyone's head, especially when you get your first paycheck and you're like, where is all this money going to? What are these taxes? Um, One of the biggest taxes that come out of there that everybody sees and they're like, what does this mean and such, is that Social Security tax. Um, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's FDR that implemented. Um, but essentially, what it does is, in a simple way, it allows the government to invest for you as far as like a in retirement account that pays you out money. Now, I think the age is 65 at which you can start collecting it. There's other ways that you can collect it too, as far as like maybe, you have a parent pass away and then you can have those benefits allowed to the children and some other aspects to that too as well. But ideally, what happens is that whenever you start your first job, tied to your social security number is the amount of money or taxes that you put into there. And then once you do retire, that is where you'll know how much money is going to be allotted to you. So it's not like it's a set amount of income for everybody. It's basically like if you put in the work and you paid those taxes, then those are paid out to you. Again, tied to your social security number, hence the social security aspect of it. Um, but yeah, I think overall, at the time that it was implemented, and then kind of how we're about to discuss it now, as far as the larger issue at hand, and not necessarily a scare tactic, but it's been on the back of like people probably our age, as far as like even though we're 40 years away from that or something like that, it's something that's on your mind because that is 40 years of possibly having that tax taken out and then not being able to see any of it. That's the larger issue. Uh, in reality, again, the main goal of it was is that as long as there were enough people being born and working, they can pay into this account that would allow people to at the retirement. So it's essentially for the people that are retiring now, the taxes that you're paying into that is being benefit to you, and then it should be kind of like back to that too as well. The people as you get older will pay for those taxes that go in there, as far as the money that comes and goes out of it. But essentially, what is happening is that um, one generation, known as the baby boomers, are one of the larger generations of the most current ones alive now. Is having basically they're basically at the retirement age, where they're getting ready to retire or already in their retired state. Um, and with that also being said, is that generations after them don't actually equate uh, as enough, I guess, power to keep on stimulating the Social Security aspect. So what we're looking at is here by this study done or this report by the Social Security Board of Trustees is that around 2034, it's looking at like the reserves for Social Security will be depleted. One of the larger issues at hand, and I think you've probably seen some people talk about that, is like, okay, there's not enough people having children, yada yada. I think there's a lot of factors that impact some of the things that go into or factor into Social Security. But one of the things that you should also look at is, regardless of those factors, how was the system built and what kind of fail-safes did they have? Ideally, at the time that it was being built, made more sense because we were at a more growth standpoint within our population. Once you read about, and like I said, as a side note, but as civilizations tend to become better at like technology and a lot of other things like that, um, the amount of children that they have seems to go down. So you rarely find people who have a good financial background and standpoint having, multiple children versus like, people who live on a farm kind of life or things like that where you need those extra hands or whatnot, or even back then where maybe the eldest sibling watched a bunch of the other kids and yada yada. What you see is, like I said, is a downturn in the amount of people born versus back then when this was being implemented. Um, One thing that they like to say, again, just to kind of repeat on that, is that it's not for certain, it's more of a trend that they're seeing as far as like what's available now with the amount of people retiring and then potential retirees by a certain point. Um, 2034 is only literally in like less than 10 years. So that's what's the more concerning part because those 10 years will be here quick. And that means anybody that's born, within the last 10 years will probably be of working age and or getting starting their first paycheck, job, college, whatever it is, paying into those social security taxes. Probably won't be able to see those things. Not sure what they'll do as far as like you know maybe they'll refund people. My opinion is that they should before it gets too deep. I would hate for them to try to push it along and then all of that money being taken out never gets back. I'm not sure what they would do to an inflation standpoint if you were just to print enough money to refund everybody for the Social Security that's been taken out, because you'll probably have some people that are on the brink of retirement, and that's like, 40 plus years of Social Security tax that they would have to just basically refund people. And then on the better side for them would be those people who probably only worked a couple years and they just have to refund them. But before we get too deep into it, I think it'll just be better to just really tackle how will this be done instead of saying people need to have more kids, because obviously that's not going to happen or fix the issue for a long time. So another thing that we have in here is if that depletion happens, instead of be able to pay out 81% of the scheduled benefits. Again, I don't really know if that means um, to everybody that's already paid into it, 81% of those people, or 81% of the people who are getting ready to retire at that point. Tyler, what are your thoughts and opinions on the whole Social Security aspect?
Yeah, I just did some research while you were like some quick things you mentioned. So it was founded by FDR.
Hmm.
I was like, as you were talking, I was like, why was this even created in the first place? Sounds like it was created to provide a safety net for people that were in the Great Depression. I think it's great. Like, unfortunately, the American culture does not take care of our elderly that well. At least, like, I have some really close friends from the, you know, Asian cultures, things like
Hmm.
that. And anyway, so I think it's needed to an extent. But it is scary though, because like I guess my question is, and I don't know if this will ever get answered, but I don't know if it was ever made to live off of solely. Like I
Hmm.
think it was maybe made to supplement, like be a part of retirement instead of all the retirement. So, and then you have the typical people saying, well, I'm just gonna live off my check, as in their social security check, which I don't know if that's really smart. I would advise it. I'm not planning on surviving off of it, if I'm being very
Hmm.
frank. But that's me personally. But we're also young and we get to invest now to be able to even let that be an option, to be honest. So, um, yeah, it's hard. I think we should take care of those that need it. It is a fine line, though. Hopefully, there's not any waste, things like that. But look, I know some that there's the argument that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. It's only able to pay out when the younger
Yeah,
people pay into it,
right.
and that's a something that may need to be looked into. I'm not. I'll just stay out of it. I'm just saying people think that, so
Yeah,
look
I've
into it.
I've heard of
Um,
it being a Ponzi scheme, or as people compared it to like an MLM, because when you if you don't know what a Ponzi scheme is or like what those MLMs are, is basically that they only profit by getting new people in to pay the people that are like already out. So for me, say I started this, scheme, and I'm like, hey, if you give me, $500, I'll help you return that, but I need you to get two or three more people to get into there and pay in $100, right? And so the way that it works is that I'm gonna get my payout, and then I'm gonna be done, and then you're gonna have to work to get your payout, and then it just kind of trickle down. If you look at it from like a triangle standpoint, so as a hierarchy. So then it funnels up as far as like you get more people to pay in, and then in order for those people who do pay in to get people to get their payout, you got to get more people. And so that's if we were just how I was saying about Social Security is that like okay, now you started with this baby boomer generation who would have probably came in and then kind of also around that depression time. So, the parents of these baby boomers essentially, right? Paying into this and then they pay into this, right? And then the next generation pays in and every single time it's supposed to funnel out and go into that. What's happening is that this triangle is now just squeezing in like this. And now they have less people and it's basically becoming like a rectangle essentially. So you just have this squeeze coming in because now the population of people to pay in is no longer what it used to be. And so now you have more people right at the top that are not going to get their payout essentially, which is like, that 2034 year that we're talking about. So, again, if you're looking at it from the triangle standpoint, there's a few people that get their payout, bam, bam, bam. It almost works perfectly. But again, when you get that squeeze going in, Now it's almost just like reversed, and now you have a bunch of people needing to pay out with not a lot of people coming in, and people are just basically holding money. Um, and this is again why there are things like, other retirement, individual retirement accounts, right? Because you have your Roth IRAs, and then you have your 401s, with company contributions, and you have the side of investing on your own. Um, you in reality, you don't know how long you'll live, right? And 65 is a crazy number because I think on average in the US, people live to about 76 or so, 75, 76. So it's about 10 years, right? That you're like, oh, I'm not working anymore. I need to make sure this money lasts. But who knows if you're going to live to that 76, or who knows if you're going to live longer? Maybe tack on 15, 20 years. I was just outside playing mini golf, and there was a guy, he's like, I'm 12 years off of 100. You know, Imagine he's sitting there in his 80s, and he's like, yeah, like, I think I'm going to keep pushing. So if you at that point though, he's already retired. What would that be? 15 years ago. So if you look at it from that perspective, like it's hard to really determine. So the best thing you can do is just have enough money saved up and invested to where, the main thing that you need to do is just, plan your estate in case you do go because you have excess money, right? Um, that is, and again, how Tyler was saying, like other cultures do take, better care of their elderly citizens, and that's something that, we don't really do as much here, but we also, most other cultures are more social based versus us being more individual based. But that's that capitalism, baby. So that's it. I mean, there's no other way to put it. But again, to, for yourself, this is something so early to think on. People are like, maybe it's not on the front of your mind, but uh, time does move by faster. I feel like the older you get. So, um, you may not think you'll be here, here in the blink, but you don't want to get halfway through your career and being like, I have no money saved up. This might be cooked. So lock in with that. Do your research always. Again, Tyler and I will come over here and we'll talk about stuff and our opinions on things, but stay informed, do your own research, and form your own opinion on how you want to tackle that and what that means to you. But that are all of our topics. Do you have any additional things for that time? All right. Again, some of the things we talked about: HSAs, FSAs, the health spending account, and flexible spending account. Please look at that whenever you're getting ready to do your benefits package. It could be extremely helpful for you as far as like reducing your taxable income or helping you, spend extra or not spend extra, but have some money allotted to certain health related issues or advantages. So take a look at that. And then as far as the Social Security goes, it's monitored closely. I'm sure, the government agencies in charge with that are trying to do their best to, make it a slow bleed, but not sure what it'll look like. Obviously, we'll probably come back to it in 5 years, and, maybe something might change as far as like that expected date might be coming sooner, or maybe they might find a way to stimulate it a little bit. Who knows? Maybe they might be like, hey, we're taking out more for Social Security just to do that. That'd be crazy. But yeah, I mean, you really don't know. It'd be something interesting. So maybe we'll talk about it, in a later episode or something like that if there's some more news comes out. But we appreciate you guys. Let us know in the comments your opinions on the Social Security aspect, and then also too, if you have an HSA or an FSA account, what have you spent your money on? Let us know that in the comments. But appreciate you guys. Again, stay tuned next week for another episode, and thank you.